Buh.
Greetings, EastEnders fans, and a happy new year to you. Welcome to Albert Square After Dark, your weekly EastEnders podcast. Hope you're well. This week, we are discussing the episodes broadcast between the 1st of January 2024 to the 4th of January 2024. Yay, we're in 2024. How very, very exciting. Joining me, as usual, is Ree. Hello, Ree, and a happy bloody new year to you.
Hello, Rob. Happy New Year to you as well. Did you make it out after your COVID stuff?
Yes,
Did you
I'd all
get
recovered.
to enjoy?
Yes, I
Oh,
was all
good.
recovered and negative before New Year's Eve struck. So yeah, all was well. Went to my mate's house, passed out on his sofa because of consumption of alcohol. So yeah, it was all good. Really, had a good one.
Oh,
Did you?
good. I think I caught your COVID through the screen, and I was
That's
quite
how
poorly.
that works. Yeah, that's how it works.
And was
Yeah.
well, I was in bed for 10 p.m. So yeah, I got woken up by the fireworks there, so that was great.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
it was a great New Year.
Absolutely. There you go. Standard.
Oh, dear.
Standard.
Yeah.
So we are in a new year, and you will have noticed, viewers, not listeners, but viewers will have noticed we are of a lack of calendar. Ree
Oh,
has
yeah.
amazingly made a calendar for the podcast this year. We are in the year of Peggy. I feel like like Year of the Dragon and Year of the Cat and all that kind of thing. I think EastEnders.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think I wonder what the Year of Peggy actually means on the Albert Square sort of tarot stuff.
Horoscopes.
Yeah, all that sort of thing. Yeah, I'm a Peggy. So there we are then. So we will begin, ladies and gentlemen, with January, as every new year does. And ta-da! Where are we? Oh, there we go.
It's on the top bit.
Oh, I see. Oh, I like that. Oh, that's good. So we've got a picture of Peggy being kind of looked at in horror by Dot. And who's that in the background?
Old Martin.
Oh, Martin. Oh my God.
It isn't it? He's on
I
the
think
fruit
it is.
stall.
Yeah. Wow. Wonder what's going on there. So you would have grabbed these shots and screen grabs. So have you got
Didn't
any
actually
idea?
think that one through. No, I'm not actually sure what this
I knew you were going to say
is.
that. Why did I know you were going to say that somehow, Ray?
Do you know what? I pretty much know every other one except for that one.
Except that one.
And I think
Except
I
that
can't
one.
actually. Something Peggy was really angry about something, and
She looks like
trying
she's
to get
having one of the.
everyone's attention.
Yeah,
in the
she looks
market.
like she's standing on
Yeah.
like a. She looks like she's standing on a fruit crate or something and just giving a speech, and like trying to rouse the community as Peggy used to do.
It must be early noughties, right? If it's
Oh,
Martin
yeah.
on the fruit stall. So
Yeah. She's
we'll
got
look
her naughty's
into
hair.
it. We'll
There
look
we are
into
then.
what it is. Or I'm sure someone will know straight away in the comments.
Absolutely. So there we are then.
Yes.
That is our first picture. I'll stick that on the wall shortly. As to the present day, EastEnders, we had quite the week this week. We've got returning characters and some very interesting storylines to be discussing. So let's get on with the first Albert Square After Dark of the year. Right, we shall begin not in Walford, but in Paris. That's where we're going to start. We start the year with an amazing shot of the Eiffel Tower, sort of at night, with all fireworks going on around it. And then we pull back, and who is revealed to us but Lauren? Lauren is officially back, ladies and gentlemen. That's exciting. Pleased to see Lauren again. I know you're a fan of Jacqueline Josser, so this is good news for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm pleased to see Lauren, and I'm interested to see where her character's going to go. Actually, I thought it were a bit like, all right, we're giving it all that at the start, but that's what they do when they bring characters back. And
yeah,
we're kind of being reintroduced to Penny, really, because we've not seen her since she was a kid. So to me, she's new. Penny.
Yeah. I mean, she basically, it's the last time we saw Penny, she was, like you say, a kid, quite a precocious kid, I seem to remember. Like, she was a miserable cow as a kid.
Yeah,
so yeah, she was rather. So she is at a party with Lauren because, as we know, last time we saw Penny, she and Selena were living in France. So that's kind of, and then Lauren's obviously sort of been. Well, Lauren's basically been globetrotting since we last saw her, hasn't she? Like, she's all over the bloody place, is Lauren. So they're at this really nice looking party. I have to say, I thought it was quite a high class event in a place where you can just see the Eiffel Tower out of your bedroom window. I imagine like that's quite expensive to live in France. I would have thought.
Yeah,
wouldn't you? Yeah, for sure,
Penny.
for sure.
Wow.
And it kind of becomes clear that Lauren is missing Peter. You kind of get that impression. and she's sat there talking to Penny about it. And then at this party, enter Juliette Dubois, who I have to say I love.
Juliette.
Juliette.
Juliette
Oh, bonjour,
Dubois.
Juliette Dubois. I mean, what a name.
Bonjour.
What a name.
Brilliant
Juliette
name.
Dubois. I loved it.
I mean, do you reckon that she might be French
I think it's. I
from that
get that.
name?
I get that impression. You know, Juliette
Yeah.
Dubois. Mind you, we knew
Yeah.
somebody. We knew somebody called Dubois, didn't we?
We did know somebody called
Yes,
Dubois. We
yes. One
did.
of our.
Is that what you thought
Yeah,
straight
yeah, yeah, yeah,
away?
yeah. I was like one of our lecturers
Ooh,
whose
Dubois.
surname was Dubois.
Yeah.
Although I'm not entirely sure that that wasn't a pen name.
A bit of a stage name.
I think so. Yeah, yeah. If you do,
Possibly.
possibly.
They were
Anyway,
French Canadian though, Rob.
oh well, maybe not
So
then.
possibly not. Yeah, yeah.
Well, there doesn't seem to be much Canadian in Juliette, who
No.
is, it transpires, a bit of a drugs cartel, drugs baron, drugs type person. She basically is the French branch of the company that Evie used to work for. You know the one that you maybe. So
Yes.
she is the
Queen
French.
Eva.
Yeah, yeah, for Queen Evie, she is the French Evie. I
Yeah.
love her,
But
Juliette.
maybe a
Bravo, I
few
say.
positions a
I
few
think
positions higher than
I
Evie, I
think a
reckon.
few. I think a few higher. I can't quite see
Mm,
Evie kind of rocking up to one of these really posh parties, can you? In like a gorgeous,
no.
like plunging neckline and all that. Yeah, no, I can't see that myself. But it turns out that her and Penny have some sort of business to discuss. We are led to believe that there has been problems between the two of them before. Because Penny says things like, "You do not want to disappoint me again, do you?" No, 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 no. I loved her.
Juliet says that, yeah.
Juliet says that. Well, no, Penny didn't say that in a French accent. Juliet said that. Um, yeah, it was interesting. So basically, Penny is to Penelope is to take some drugs to London. Unfortunately, Lauren has a hankering for Walford and is deciding to go and see Peter. Now we'll leave the French stuff for a minute and go to Walford, where New Year's Eve is fully in swing. Everyone's like people are in the club. Peter takes home. Well, he pulls this woman. Right, who she pulls her, and then they go and have sex on the sofa because nobody in the Beale house can ever have sex anywhere other than the living room because you know why? There aren't any bedroom sets in the
There's no
Beale house.
no
There's no
bedroom
bedroom
sets.
sets,
Yeah,
so that's
that's
the
what
only
I'm
place.
like. Oh,
The
that's
only
why.
place
Okay.
they can have
Yep.
sex is where Lucy died.
I mean,
It's no wonder everyone in that house
oh,
is messed
Rob, I
up.
didn't even think of
That's the only
that.
place. That's the only place,
Oh.
isn't it? So
Well,
that's the
I
only
was
place.
thinking they could have had him walking downstairs, like putting the
Yeah,
clothes back
could
on
have
or
done.
something.
No, no,
But
no,
yeah,
no.
no,
It's
no, do it
much
on
more
sofa.
sexy.
Why not?
Although, to be fair, this woman didn't exactly scream class, did she? Because as she was pulling her knickers up, she turned around and was just like, "That's all right, I've got a fiance anyway." Oh, all right then, love. Cool.
I was so shocked at that, but I'm quite naive and innocent to
I
things
know
like
you'd
that,
never
aren't
do
I,
anything.
Rob?
No, you are. You lead a sweet and innocent life, don't you?
Yeah.
So this woman just disappears into the night, and Peter's like, "All right, well, that's no headache for me." And Lauren's trying to ring him, and they sort of have a conversation. And clearly, Peter is still hankering over Lauren, and Lauren is still hankering over Peter. So they decide that Lauren will go and see them with Louis for a few weeks. Now, having had her orders from Juliette, they decide they fly back to Walford. Really nice transition, by the way. Did you see that nice transition when a firework went
Yeah,
up into the
yeah,
sky and
yeah.
then we had a plane going through? Liked
I
that. Very
did.
good. Very good.
Yeah, it
Like
was
that.
nice.
So as they are arriving back in London, Sniffer Dog starts sniffing at Lauren's bag, and they open it and they discover, I mean, stuff essentially. So a big brown bag full of stuff. And
Well,
Lauren is arrested. You know, I mean, I don't know what it was.
we're assuming it's cocaine, aren't we?
It
Like,
was
what
brown,
else?
so well, it could be crack cocaine maybe, or heroin or
Oh,
something.
I just thought that was the packaging that were brown. Was that
Oh,
actually the
maybe.
substance?
I don't know. I did
Anyway, a
bad
big block
drugs.
of drugs.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
weren't night nurse, put it like that.
yeah.
So Lauren is arrested, and Penny and Louis return to Walford and surprise Jack, who is hanging out of his arse on New Year's Day, and they sort of just rock up at his doorstep and have to kind of explain that Lauren has been arrested. So yeah, this is
Do you
not good for
not?
Penny straight away. Go on.
Do you not think it was a bit bait that the bag, like the block of drugs, was just
Just
right on the top of Lauren's
just for,
bag?
again,
Like,
just for
just
our
do
international
you know what I
viewers,
mean?
just for our international viewers view, bait. What does that mean for our
Oh,
international viewers, Ree?
oh,
What does it mean
bait.
in Sheffield? Just blatant, isn't it? Is what
It's not Sheffield. That it's
no, I know
like
it's not.
everywhere. So, it means like
Blatant,
obviously,
obvious,
yeah,
and yeah,
blatant, yeah.
Yeah.
and also
Um,
like you're going to blatantly get done for it.
exactly, yeah, and I do
Yeah.
actually agree
Anyway,
with you. You know, just to sort of like, what was her plan? Like, so she manages to get those drugs into Lauren's bag, like you say, right on the
how
top.
for number one as well.
First thing you see when you unzip it. So they're just on top. So how was she going to get them back? I don't think Penny had planned it very
So
well,
was
to be
that?
honest.
Oh, I've just clicked that. Obviously, that bag must have gone through customs or something then. Because I'm
Yeah.
in my head, I was thinking that looked like a hand luggage bag. So how did she do it?
Oh
You know
no, I
what I'm
think it would have.
saying?
Yeah, yeah, it must have been. Yeah, yeah, I assume so. Because
So you
I've been
get,
having, yeah, no, because as you're going through customs, like it goes through that machine, doesn't
yeah,
it? And you got to,
yeah,
yeah, so you can't hide anything in there. I wouldn't have thought.
yeah,
So it would have had to
in
have
your hand
been.
luggage.
It would have
Yeah,
to have, yeah, it would have to have been for, yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
so Jack's fuming, obviously, for obvious reasons, and he kind of manages to get it out of Penny what's gone on. Like Penny's not very good at hiding her secrets at this stage. Let's talk about Penny briefly. I mean, I'm interesting. I'm liking what we see so far with Penny. It's this Kissy Castledine who is now playing Penny, and I think she's pretty good. I have to say,
I
I'm
think
I'm I'm, I'm intrigued.
yeah, I think that she's a good actress actually who's playing
Yeah, so
Penny. I
do
think
I.
it's been quite well cast. I
Mm.
even think it's believable that her and Jack are father and daughter. When I
Yeah,
was watching them two
yeah,
together, I was like, this is. I
yeah. They
feel
got
like
good
this is quite a good
chemistry.
casting.
So Peter, meanwhile, just kind of discovers what's going on, and I've got to say, do you reckon there's a little bit of chemistry between Penny and Peter? Was that what we were supposed to be getting from that? I feel.
I I think so. Penny's obviously took a shine to Peter. I reckon. I don't know whether
Yes.
it's reciprocated. Um.
I don't know. I mean, Peter is a bit of a promiscuous young fella, me lad, isn't he?
Old
So,
Peter, old
oh,
Peter would have there and
oh,
then, maybe
let's be honest.
even
This
in the
one
Queen
isn't.
Vic toilets.
Although,
But
yeah, I mean, let's be fair though. This one is a nicer version of Peter, but he's still kind of got that side to him. I mean, he took
true,
an engaged woman home and had
yeah,
sex on the sofa, and then just sort of went about his night. So
yeah, true.
there is
He
still
didn't
that
know
side
she
to
were
him.
engaged there.
No, he didn't. That's true. But can you see something kicking off between these two when Lauren
Yeah,
returns? Yes, I
yeah, I
think
just
so.
can't quite. Because right now that he knows that Penny's the one who actually dropped Lauren in it, I can't see why he would go there. But they're
No.
clearly trying to make it look like they've got something between them. So we'll see how
Mm.
it goes. Really.
Yes, I watch this
Mm,
space. I think,
mm.
but yeah, Peter manages to get out of Penny what's gone on, and because he overhears her talking to Juliet on the phone, and assumes that he's talking to Selena, her mum, and Jack says, "Well, no, they never talk in French to each other." So they kind of try and put two and two together. Jack goes to the police, and police basically say to Penny, "Right, okay, so you're going to hand yourself in here." She decides to go to the police station and hand herself in. If you We'll do a deal with you if you give us all the information that we want on Juliette Dubois. Then we'll let you and Lauren go, and you'll never see us again. So, I mean, you can sort of see why Penny's kind of a bit nervous about that idea, because it's all very well for the police to go, "Oh yeah, no, nothing will happen. You'll be fine." Like, all right, how are you going to guarantee my safety in this scenario? You know?
Yeah, I think they should have had that conversation first and gone, look, we're going to strike a deal with you. This is how we'll protect you. Give us what we
Mm.
need to know. But prior to that, what does she do, Rob, to try and get
Yeah,
herself out
I
of it?
I have to say, not the brightest move. So Penny decides to try and imply that the police was it no, I was a bit confused here because Jack left the room and then these
Yeah.
two police officers went in. And was she trying to imply that Jack had done that, or the first police officer that walked in?
The first officer that walked in, because he
Right,
went in on
okay.
his own, didn't he?
Yeah.
Because he went in to take her back to a police cell.
Right, okay, yeah, yeah.
He went in, as soon as he opened the door, she like waited like 3 seconds and then
Yeah, and
started
then just fell on
shouting.
the floor. Literally just throws
I
herself
mean,
on the floor, implying
she
that the
were
police.
already on the floor, weren't she, when they
Yeah.
walked in?
Yeah, but like as soon as Jack walked out, she would have
Yeah.
thrown herself on the floor.
Yeah.
And this policeman's like, "What are you doing, mate?" Because the CCTV in these interview rooms, I don't quite know.
Like there wouldn't be.
Even I knew that. Even I knew there
Yeah.
was, and I'm a sweet innocent boy who's never been arrested and been in trouble for anything. Even I knew there was CCTV in those interview rooms. So if you're going to be getting yourself involved in drug trafficking and all that kind of thing, Penny. I'd do your homework if I were you,
Learn
love.
about CC. I mean, it
Learn.
says a lot. She's managed to clearly smuggle drugs and successfully, but then didn't realise that there'd be CCTV in a
I
police
mean,
room in
to be
front of
fair,
her.
she's returning to Wolford. She's heard tales of Wolford
The
CCTV,
lack of
maybe.
CCTV,
Yeah, so
that
she
is
maybe
true.
chanced her arm. Maybe chanced her arm. But they said to her, no, we literally just watched you on CCTV. Just throw yourself on the ground. So do you want to not give us this rubbish? Thank you very much. So all
Mm-hmm.
right, fair enough. But yeah, so is she going to do this deal? Do you reckon?
Well, yeah, otherwise how's she going
Mm.
to stay on Albert Square? Let's be honest.
Yeah, and how's Lauren going to get
Otherwise
out?
she's
I
going to be
mean,
in jail. Yeah.
yeah, but do you reckon there's going to be any repercussions from this? I think probably, isn't there? Because it's not going to be just
It depends.
Juliet. There's going to be other people involved in this as well that are going to come looking for her.
I don't know. The only thing I would have thought is, would she not need to go into witness protection if she's going to drop Juliette Dubois in it? So I don't know if Jack's going to pull some strings or something. I
Mm,
don't know. But
maybe.
what I think what has been nice about this is that Lauren and Penny have returned, but we've been able to see Penny on her own whilst
Yes.
Lauren's been inside. Do you know
Yeah,
what I
because
mean?
we
So
actually
it's been,
only saw Lauren on the New Year's Day episode. And other than
yeah,
that, she was
yeah,
in custody, so we didn't actually see Lauren for the rest of the week. So yeah, I liked that we kind of got to know Penny. She's feisty, she's a bit fiery. She's not afraid to take anybody on. Certainly not someone who's letting her disability get in the way of
mm,
anything really. So I think that's quite a good character to have on the square. So I'm excited to see what becomes of Penny and see where she
yeah,
goes. I do think that there's going to be something between her and Peter a little bit further down the line. I think that's probably
yeah,
where that's heading, and that's going to cause some aggro. Because I think what's interesting in bringing Penny in, if you bring in Lauren back in as well, they've given her maybe an Abby replacement in Penny.
yeah, yeah.
So I think
We had
that's
a
going to
little
be
mention
interesting
of
to
Abby,
watch.
didn't we? Lauren saying, "Oh,
Yeah.
he's missing Abby."
Oh,
We all are,
you
Lauren.
and us
We
both,
all
Lauren.
are.
You and us both. That should never ever have happened. Bad decision getting rid of Abby, I tell you. There we are then. So we'll see where that goes. Let us know in the comment section below what your thoughts of Penny are. Are you pleased to see Lauren again? What do you think of Madame Juliette Dubois? Are you as big a fan of her as I am? I doubt it. So let us know in the comment section below. Right, ladies and gents, next story. On to Whitney and Zach now, and the departure of Ashton, which I hope Ashton goes to a good family, and I hope he's happy because he's a sweet little kid, isn't he? I really liked.
Yeah.
I was really enjoying watching Whitney, Zach, and Ashton. I think it's a shame that he's had to go so quickly. I mean, I know that's fostering. That's how it works. Even I'm bereft at Ashton's departure. So imagine how Zach and Whitney feel. And they don't take it well, and they sort of deal with it in different ways. Now, for the first time this week, I started to sort of get an idea of why Whitney and might leave Zach and how this exit might start to play out. Because Zach isn't dealing well with the idea of kind of fostering. He doesn't want to get himself too emotionally attached to these kids. So he's sort of just leaving Whitney to sort of deal with it, wasn't he?
Yeah, it weren't cool from Zach, let's
Weren't
be
Zach's
honest.
finest moment, was it?
I mean, like, also kind of get it that he were like, oh, he were a bit harsh how he said it to Whitney when he was
Mm,
like, oh, come on, I can't go for a pint with my best mate. I felt like going, no, you effing can't,
mm.
Zach. All
Yeah,
right, Ashton's leaving.
yeah.
Like, your priorities have got to change. Even if they're not your, I'm sorry, but if that were your biological child, would you have
Yeah.
behaved in the same way? Do you know what I mean?
Well, maybe that's where she's going to be thinking. Is this actually going to be how Zach will
Mm,
respond to fatherly duties? Obviously, so New Year's Eve's kicking off. They're round Sonia's, and Zach's off getting pissed with Martin in the club,
I
and
bet he is.
getting very drunk with Martin as
Really
well, isn't
drunk.
it? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Whitney is struggling, and she goes home. And at the stroke of midnight, as all the fireworks are going off around Wolford, she does a pregnancy test and she discovers that she is pregnant. Now, I, I mean, are you with Whitney on this? Like, you can understand where her brain is, why she's so kind of scared about all this. This is kind of quite terrifying for Whitney. Doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know whether she wants to kind of be brave and sort of go through the pregnancy and I think in her brain run the risk of going through it all again, isn't it? That's where she's at.
I think it's just still incredibly raw. It only happened
Yeah,
last year, didn't it?
yeah, it is raw.
So not
Yeah,
only that, like her body needs chance to recover. She's
mm,
probably wondering, is my body ready for it?
yeah,
Is
yeah,
it going to happen again? She's grieved, hasn't she?
mm,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's not the same, but in a way, you know, if you grieved a partner and then met somebody new a year later, would you maybe be thinking, is this a bit too soon? I know it's not the same at all. I'm just trying to
Mm.
think of an analogy that I could
Yeah, yeah.
compare it to. I think the timing of it,
Mm.
perhaps if it was this time next year, she might have felt a bit more ready and she's gone through more
Yeah.
of the grieving process. But right now, yeah, no, I don't think anyone can blame her for
No, and
contemplating not having the pregnancy.
yeah, and I have to sort of wonder, is this going to affect the fostering as well? Like, she's now discovered that she's pregnant, so is this now gonna, are they gonna be like, oh, do you know what, actually, let's kind of knock the fostering on the head and focus on this instead? Like, what the plan is there, I wonder.
Well, you'd think so, because not that, I mean, fostering's not easy, let's be
No,
honest. I've never
at
done
all.
it, but I can
No,
imagine that
but you
it's
can
not
imagine,
easy.
like, getting
Yeah.
attached to kids really quickly, especially your first one. This is why they got so attached
Mm.
to Ashton, because he was a good kid and, you know, clearly wanted some sort of love and help, and they were giving him that, and then he just kind of taken away from them again, just as they're sort of putting this maternal instinct on Whitney and what she was giving to Ashton, and then sort of takes him away again. So that's going to be rough to go through. So, and then to kind of throw the pregnancy in as well, it's no wonder she's all over the place at the moment, I don't think.
And if you're going to continue the pregnancy, you need to try and limit stresses as much as possible.
Mm.
So, potentially taking on this new thing of fostering children is not going to be the right timing, is it,
Yeah, because
for
you
them?
don't know what's going to arrive at your door if you're fostering, do you? You don't know whether it's
No,
they're not all
exactly.
going to be like Ashton, are they?
No.
You're going to get the odd kid that drives you absolutely crazy and is high stress and high attention, you know. So yeah, it's a very tricky time. So I wonder where the fostering is going to go from here, actually.
I think it's
But
going to stop, if I'm honest with you. I don't think
yeah,
they're going to
I
be
kind of
doing it
wonder
again.
that. Yeah, yeah, I do wonder
Mm.
that. So obviously Whitney is undecided about whether she wants to go full term with the kid until she has a chat with Yolande. I loved this scene between Whitney and Yolande. This was great, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Really, really nice.
100%. Wouldn't have expected it, but
It's a
like,
perfect role for
that is,
Yolande, though, isn't
yeah,
it? Like
yeah,
it just
yeah.
because obviously Yolande and Patrick used to foster in the early days of their relationship,
Hmm.
and so perfect person to talk to about it. And it was a really interesting sort of perspective on Yolande. We don't often get this with Yolande, sort of talking about her inner feelings and talking how she feels about, you know, regrets that she had about not having kids. And she's perfectly, you know, kind of talking to Whitney and saying, I know our stories are different, but I understand where you're coming from. And sort of gives her some really heartfelt advice, which seems to persuade Whitney, okay, I'm just gonna go for this then. I'm gonna go full term and let's see what happens. Zach is obviously delighted. Um, but we know that Whitney is on her way out soon. We don't know when. So you've kind of got to wonder, is this pregnancy going to work out? Is it not? Is the pregnancy not working going to be what kind of pushes Whitney away full time or what?
I'd not even considered that. I just assumed that her and Zach, I just assumed Zach were going to leave and they were going to live happily ever after.
Oh, what, you
And I
thought
was
Zach was
like,
going to go
that'd
with
be,
Whitney?
yeah. And I just thought that'd be a nice exit for Whitney, because all she has is heartache. And now you just
All
said
she
that, I'm
has
like,
is
oh, yeah,
trauma.
that'd be more Whitney, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's much more akin to Whitney's
Oh, I
lifestyle
hope
to
not.
well, we've heard nothing that Zach's leaving, so I feel like it is
Mm.
just Whitney going at the moment. So
We'd not heard anything about Mitch leaving though, and he went with Karen.
that's true.
So
That's very, very true.
possible.
Maybe, but I think it's probably more likely that unhappy
Well,
ending is
they're
coming for
starting to
this.
show the cracks, aren't they? With oh
Yeah,
right, so maybe Whitney's gonna, something bad's gonna happen, and then Whitney will blame Zach or something and say, "See, I knew I should."
yeah,
Yeah, I didn't think of that. That.
yeah, yeah. I think that's probably more
Oh,
likely, isn't it? Poor Whitney, poor
oh, I
Zach as
hope
well, because
not. Yeah.
he's going through this as well. Maybe not dealing with it in the best possible way, but he is still going through it, and he is desperately trying to support Whitney. I think that the conversation they had about, you know, Whitney going full term, he could have reacted a lot worse to that. I think so.
Yeah.
I think in the grand scheme of things, he is there for her in terms of support, and I think he's doing all right.
Well, when she were considering termination, that's what she was
Yeah,
saying, weren't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
He weren't happy with it, but he were respecting that
He
it's
got
her
it.
body and her decision, and
Mm,
yeah, and he was being supportive. So
yeah,
yeah, I think you might have a point that it could be how her
yeah.
exit is. Oh, that'd be unfortunate.
It would be a shame, but we'll have to wait and see.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, how do you think Whitney is going to leave? How do you think it's all going to play out? Let us know in the comments section below. Talking of Yolande had quite a busy old week actually, because she had her own story going on in the meantime. So let's talk about Yolande and Pastor Clayton. Just to let anybody who was watching us, who was wondering about the calendar, we'll sort that out next week. By the way, we struggled a little bit getting this new calendar up because
Yes,
there's
we
holes.
did.
Yes, I did. There's calendars in the holes got all in the wrong place, so we'll work that out for next week. Don't you worry about that. Anyway, so on to Yolande. On
Still
to
duking out.
Yolande and Pastor Clayton. Uh,
Mm.
so basically, New Year's Eve, Yolande goes to check on the kids who obviously because all the older adults have gone across to Sonia's and Reese's banging New Year's Eve party. Absolutely
Mm-hmm.
banging that party was, bless Reese. And they say, oh, we'll just check in on the kids on the way past. And they're having this absolutely mad, crazy house party with, unbeknownst to them, non-alcoholic beer and non-alcoholic alcohol. The placebo effect is very much come into play. Nugget thinks he's smashed. He's really not.
I loved that, by the way. I thought that were
I
brilliant.
think I've done that before. I think I've had a party like that before. I really do. I'm pretty sure I have. Where all of us were thinking we were absolutely hammered, and then we checked at the end of the night. It was like, there's no alcohol in this whatsoever. I
Just
think I've
shows you,
done that.
didn't it? Especially as
Yeah.
kids as well.
Yeah, because you
Mm.
do. Yeah. Oh, this is what drunk feels like for sure. This whole having a good time thing. That means I'm hammered. Yeah, mate. Hey! Anyway, so her and Patrick wander into Jack's house to see this non-alcoholic party taking place. And Yolande's like, right, all of you, because there was no alcohol in that, you're lucky. I will keep my gob shut about this party, but you lot are going to do something for me. And she basically gets the kids of Walford on sort of leafleting duty for the church. So she gets Nugget, she gets Denzel, she gets Avani, and they're all sort of kind of handing out these leaflets. Avani throws all hers in a bin, which, yeah.
Fair
Um,
play.
yeah, and Denzel is kind of dragged to the soup kitchen because Yolande wants to keep an eye on him. And Denzel sort of gets the wrong idea about this new bloke, Pastor Clayton, who is a friend of Yolande's who works for the church. Now, do you think there's anything in this whatsoever? What do you think?
No, if I'm honest, I don't think there is. It were Varney and Nugget put the idea in
Yeah.
Denzel's head, didn't they? They were like, "Oh,
Mm.
wow, what's going on with them two?" But no, I don't think.
Well,
I actually wouldn't. Go
I
on.
didn't think at the end. I didn't think it was at all until the very last scene of this at the end of the week, where he was kind of putting his
His
hand on her
hand.
hip, and I was sort of like, "Oh,
Mm.
actually,
Oh, was
is
it
there
on his?
something going on there?"
Oh, was it on a hip? I thought it were.
And it was like
Do you
on the
know?
small of her back, small of her back. It
I
sort of was,
thought. Well, then in that case, yeah, because I
and she
thought the
didn't
twist
seem.
would end up being that he's gay or something, and that
I
or
don't
something
think.
like that. But
Yeah,
I would have thought they'd mentioned that by now, if that was
yeah.
to be the twist.
So I don't
Possibly
know.
then.
I don't know.
Possibly.
But we'll see how that plays out. But basically, Denzel. It's basically the week of Denzel getting the wrong idea about these two, and Yolande kind of making him do the soup kitchen stuff, and he accidentally do that, or did he deliberately do that? Like throw curry over the
Deliberately.
pasta. It was deliberately. I wasn't sure. But he throws this curry all over the pasta, and Yolande's immediately trying to clean him up and all that kind of thing. So I don't know actually whether we're supposed to see anything in
Mm,
this whatsoever or not.
yeah, no,
I'm
you might have a point actually. Yeah, possibly, possibly.
I do not know. What I do
I don't
know
think it'd be
is
reciprocated by Yolande if
no,
that
I don't
happened.
think so either, because she obviously is head over heels for Patrick. I can't see an
Yeah,
affair happening there. Surely,
no,
famous last
no.
words. Famous last words. I know this, but
Yeah,
we'll see.
nah.
We will see. I don't know. Nothing much else to discuss with that story, though. I don't think, other than just sort of the facts of that. We
Just,
don't,
and
not sure whether they are or not.
I don't quite understand why Yolande's seeing Denzel in such a negative way because I think he's quite a rounded
He
teenager personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Yolande is basically doing is maybe over mothering him slightly. You know, he's in the household with them, and I actually really like Denzel's sort of interpretation of what Yolande and Patrick's relationship is. I think he's actually
Mm,
looks up to them, doesn't he? Like he looks up to them and said,
yeah,
"That's what a relationship should look like when you get older." He thinks it's sweet. He thinks it's sort of aspirational. So to see someone potentially come along and mess this up is actually quite an endearing side to
yeah.
Denzel, isn't it? Really, I quite
The
liked it.
There was one little comment that he said there that he
Oh
went,
yes.
and I thought, oh, is this leading to the Denzel and Avani thing?
Oh
He said,
yes.
oh, well, he's a man and he's after only one thing that all men are
Yeah.
after. And I was like, oh,
I thought that was a very sort of older person statement to come out of a teenage boy's mouth, I have to
yeah,
say.
which is why I was like,
You
where's
know
that
what
come
men are
from? Why
like?
are we saying that? Yeah.
You know what us men are like?
Mm.
We're men. It was like it was coming
We're
out of
only
another.
after one thing.
Well, it was like it was coming out of another woman's mouth, wasn't it? It was just like, you know what men are like. We're only after one thing. We can never have friendships. And I have to say, actually, on the subject of Avani and Denzel, lest we forget how those two originally met. Denzel clearly, sort of raised an eyebrow to Avani. So keep an eye on that. I think that might still
Yeah.
be to come. Definitely, definitely. So maybe Denzel needs to keep his opinions to himself when it comes to affairs and wandering eyes and all of that kind of thing. We shall have
Mm-hmm.
to wait and see there. Right, on to the final story of the week. I think the biggest storyline of the week. This was George, and we have met Gloria and Eddie. On to the final story of the week now, and this is George and his adoptive parents, and Cindy and Elaine, and quite the revelation, the
Revelation.
revelation for George. So his adoptive parents turn up, and they've got something to tell him because the basic kind of assumption is that they don't want him. They're getting old. Is their logic? So they don't want to sort of pass and have George discover this without him being able to ask them questions. And it transpires that everything they've told George about his adoption, they've always been very open about the fact that he's adopted, but the way that happened is something they've always kept from him. And what we are actually going into here is the topic of child farming. Now, I have to say, I knew nothing. Well, I don't really know anything. I didn't really know anything about this. The most I kind of knew about it was the kind of glimpse we had of it when Babe was doing this, when the Carters first came around. But that was all sort of very, these babies get given to Babe and then she sells them on, and it seemed like quite a private sort of little business venture that she was doing. Whereas this is very much sort of like the wider thing that was very much going on at the time. And
I
quite
had
shocking stuff.
no idea. I had absolutely no idea that this
No,
was a thing and it's ever gone on. So
certainly not.
very, very
Yeah, and I
interesting to be educating
really
us all on it.
interesting.
I
Yeah,
feel so ignorant that I had no
yeah.
idea about it.
I mean, I certainly didn't know about everything that was going on with sort of the specifics of black children and all that kind of thing. I didn't know
Mm,
anything about this, so this
no,
was really
same.
really interesting. And what's also interesting is the fact that all of this was going on when you've got the likes of Gloria and Eddie. Now, I have to say, Gloria is an absolute delight. Eddie is a shit. Like it's
I have never hated a character so much like
instantly.
in the first week. Yeah.
Instantly. I mean,
What an awful
great
human being.
performances. Great performance in both of them.
Fantastic.
They
Yeah,
both
yeah.
screamed EastEnders, didn't they? Like really,
Mm-hmm.
really. Now
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting with this because the show has kind of been missing that older kind of East End couple ever since Pam and Les left. They had you've had cheap imitations ever since, and that older person is very difficult to get right. I think look at Vi
Mm-hmm.
and Joyce and Ted, and some people that the viewers
Oh
just
God,
didn't
I
take
forgot
to.
about Joyce and Ted. Not
Oh,
hard,
they
is it?
oh, um, and viewers didn't really just take to those characters, but I think people instantly took to Gloria because I think she was fantastic. I really
Yeah.
want to see her again. And not a lot of guest characters get a duff in their first week. I have to say that was
Mm.
unusual. She got the Thursday duff at the end of the week. Um, so I think we're going to see them again for sure, aren't
Yeah,
we? I wouldn't,
definitely.
but with someone like Eddie, it's kind of difficult to say that I want to see him again because he's an unpleasant person.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I know what you say. It's a bit like when you like to hate someone, but I don't. Oh
Yeah,
God, you just know his type so well that you just
yeah.
like,
Well,
oh
this is the
God,
thing.
go away.
And this actually was why I think he was actually quite well written because we've all met someone like Eddie, someone of that
Yeah.
generation, and it's not just people of
Mm-hmm.
that generation, but even Gloria turned around and said, "Oh, we're old. I'm sorry. All right, this is just how he talks. I'm sorry." So it's interesting, and I think worth mentioning. And I know they're very different people. Before people kick off at me for saying this, but Jim was a very racist bloke, and we grew to love
Yep.
Jim.
Yep.
So you know what I mean? Can that be done with
I'll
Eddie?
be.
Can that be done with Eddie? I don't know. Seems unlikely because I don't think Jim was ever this immediately like this, was he?
He's
I
a
don't
bit
know.
too personal though, as well. I feel Eddie
Yeah.
is. I
But the
don't know
microaggressions
this.
coming out like crazy out of his mouth. They fall
Mm,
out of his mouth like belches, don't they? So it's
and it's probably a bit different because Jim didn't go out of his way to adopt
no
somebody that he was clearly prejudiced
against.
against.
Yeah, it's
So it's a
fascinating,
bit
really.
different, I think, in that
There's
respect,
a
isn't
lot
it?
of there's a lot of layers to this, and
Mm.
apparently more layers to come. because at the end of the week, we'll go into kind of how it all played out. But at the end of the week, I was really interested that, and why Gloria got the duff at the end of the week is because there's clearly more to this that they're not telling George yet,
Mm,
and a lot more by the sound of it. It feels like there's a
yeah.
lot more to this. So what the hell could that be? I have no idea, genuinely no idea whatsoever.
I've seen some ridiculous theories
Oh, go on,
already
throw
about
them at
it.
me. Throw them
That
at me.
it's
What have
gonna
we got?
turn out it's
Because
gonna
any of this
turn
could be
out that
true. Let's be fair. It could be true. We don't know.
something like it's gonna turn out that Eddie's actually Phil Mitchell's dad. Some people just saying that Phil's
What
George's real
is
dad
Eric?
because he's got so many kids.
Right. Okay.
I've seen a lot of people for some reason saying that it's going to somehow relate to Phil Mitchell because of the boxing thing.
I
And is
don't
Eddie
know.
relate? Is Eddie related to Phil's dad? I've seen all sorts like that. But
Related to Eric
what were
Mitchell
another
in
one
some way.
that maybe George was a twin and
Has he got another brother to tell? That's possible. That's possible, actually.
yeah, I've seen things like
Because actually,
this. Yeah,
anything. Because actually, that isn't a bad theory. Because if the way this all worked, led to be believed, and and people are getting money for it. Presumably, it's you could separate two twins quite easily and send them off in different directions, and these twins would never know the other one existed. Mind you,
I'll
twins.
be
I
honest.
don't know there would be twins. It'd probably be more brother because twins is
Brothers,
a
maybe
hard
a
thing to
sibling.
cast, isn't it? But
Yeah.
yeah, or a sister or
The
something. Yeah.
the thing I'm thinking it could be is that she's obviously lied and said the money stopped coming in after 6 months, and
Mm.
actually
Why did that happen? Yeah.
maybe it was that Gloria got so attached to George because it was meant to be
Mm.
a fostering arrangement that they then moved. So
Mm.
maybe he lived somewhere else. They moved so that
Or they ran away from something.
or that his biological parents couldn't find him because they left because she wanted to bring him up
Uh,
and get full custody.
something, something
Something like
dark.
that.
Something
Yeah.
dark's gone on, hasn't it? So
Mhm.
I'm very intrigued to sort of see how this plays out. None of this does anything to sort of help George and Elaine's relationship because Cindy gets herself very much involved with this. Again, interesting here because Gloria and Eddie knew Cindy perfectly well. Obviously, they knew her as Rose, so they have their own history with Cindy. You get there's something else going on here as well, isn't there, between Cindy and
Cindy and
Eddie?
Eddie.
Now, I don't know whether this was literally just because Cindy knows what type of person Eddie is, so the attitude that he had towards Gina was unsurprising to her, and he knew she knew that that's what kind of person he was, and that's why she was so against him. But I feel like there was something else there as well.
So she ran out, didn't she? When they first came in, it was New Year's
Yeah.
Eve. They were all in the Queen Vic, and then all of a sudden, Cindy left. She felt
Mm.
very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Now that's a bit more than I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
don't
yeah,
like somebody, and like
yeah,
what she said to Ian, I just didn't want to explain the whole Rose Cindy situation at the time.
yeah, yeah.
Then we had the scene, and people have interpreted this scene quite differently. I've seen online
Mhm.
where Eddie was talking to both Gina and Anna and said, "Funny how you've got the same fathers but can be so different."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, I viewed that as the implication was Gina is slightly darker toned than Anna.
Yeah.
But then I've also seen people now deciding that Cindy was sexually assaulted by Eddie and that Anna's actually his daughter.
Ugh.
And
I
that's what he meant
mean,
by that comment, which is not what I think was meant by it personally. But I've seen
no.
this
I
theory
mean,
a lot.
yeah, I can understand that. I can understand why. Because Eddie just gives off kind of uncomfortable vibes in general, doesn't he?
Hmm,
And how do we know he's a baddie, Ree? Because he started smoking at one point, and only bad people smoke in soaps, as we know.
exactly.
As
Yeah.
we know.
Yeah.
And smoking in the Vic, it's smoking aside as well. Didn't think you were allowed to do that with TV filming
Well,
anymore.
you're not. You're not.
didn't think
Oh, with TV on
I
TV,
didn't,
you mean?
didn't think that you were allowed to do that anymore. Um, yeah, I mean, I think we've got a lot to uncover here. I think essentially, there's some definitely Cindy's definitely got a secret of her own. I think, and
I
obviously,
don't
whatever
think
the hell
that.
has gone on with George.
I don't think that Anna's his daughter, though.
No, I don't think
Come
that
on,
either.
I don't think
I
so.
don't think that either.
I
Again,
think he's
famous last
definitely
words,
being
but
racist towards Gina,
100%.
though.
Oh, 100%, 100%. The microaggressions falling, and not even micro
And comment,
in
like I
some
said,
respects.
commenting on her
Yeah,
hair,
yeah,
which is
yeah, yeah.
beautiful, by
Oh,
the
of course
way,
it
her
is. Of course
hair.
it is.
So put a
Yeah.
comb through your hair, Eddie. More to the point. All right,
What's left
mate.
of it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was super angry actually watching that this week. I was
yeah.
like,
Supposed to provoke it.
and I thought, go on then, say it to Gina of all people, because do you know what? She'll stand up to you, mate.
Will knock him out if he tries it again. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. This I enjoyed it. I'm very curious. This feels like it might be another long runner to go throughout the year.
Mm.
This doesn't feel like something that's going to be solved in like a couple of in a couple of episodes. It feels like something that is going to slowly be revealed throughout the year. It's got that sort of vibe to it, and they've sort of set their stall out at the start of the year for kind of the direction they're going to go in. Obviously, we had the sixth thing running through last year. Is this going to be the big story of the year that takes us through 2024? Maybe there's a lot going on here. It's interesting. Also, we need to talk about George and Cindy and how George naturally wanted to go to Cindy to talk about this. I am amazed that this hasn't happened yet. This affair that we know is coming at some point. It's definitely going to happen at some point. We know that George clearly is still having very strong
I
feelings for Cindy and vice versa.
think they'd be a great couple, to be
Well, they've
honest. Like,
the strange thing is that they've got a lot of support online as well. Like, there's a lot of
oh,
people
have
that are like,
they?
oh, you know how people react to pairings sometimes, and yeah, they've jumped on this. And Cindy and George have a lot of support, which I do feel for Elaine, bless her, because she's starting to feel pushed out now, and this isn't just paranoia working either, is it? Like she knows that
Yeah,
she's
but
kind of the third wheel of this.
she doesn't help herself though, Elaine. She's so bothered about having a good time and almost getting one over on Cindy that, when Cindy's actually sticking up for sticking up to Eddie, she's telling her to shut up and stop spoiling the
Mm.
moment. And it's like, well, she's standing up for something that matters, Elaine.
Well, I
So
wonder whether Elaine actually saw what we all saw with Eddie. I don't know whether this was for her. It was more about kind of keeping the peace, and like you say, she was so
okay, yeah,
blind.
true.
She was so blinded by this thing that's going on with Cindy and George that she wasn't actually considering what anybody was saying about the situation. It was all very much about because she told Cindy to back off anyway, and then Cindy turns up at this family dinner, so she was infuriated about that anyway. So I feel like she was more distracted by that than anything else.
I know, but he did say that comment about, oh, some black lads attacked the neighbour, and
Yeah,
that's what struck the conversation at the
yeah.
dinner table. And then it was just still about, I don't know, Elaine's just incredibly self-centered, isn't she? Bless her. That is
Bless her.
her. I mean,
Yeah,
Linda's Linda's
she's got that side
Linda's
to her.
having an alcoholic breakdown, but I've got a pub quiz that I need to get on with downstairs.
Yeah,
So you drink your
business and
vodka upstairs, as long as you're
entrepreneurial.
not downstairs, yeah.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
priorities are just skew with. So I can see why George went to Cindy and not Elaine, to be honest.
I mean, so how long? How much longer? Surely it can't be much longer before they end
I
up
don't know.
falling back
You
into
say
bed.
you say a week every week,
I
so
know.
God knows.
I'm amazed it hasn't happened yet. I mean, don't get me wrong. I appreciate the sort of drip feed of it. I appreciate that they're not just making everything happen straight away. Like stuff that we know is coming. They're sort of making it make sense before it happens, which I appreciate. Um, but maybe whenever we get the next thing of whatever's going on revealed, that might be the thing that actually draws them closer together. So whenever they
Yeah,
decide to return to this story, that might be when. Because I feel like this section of the story was actually very much dealt with this week, and now they can sort of maybe park that until they're ready to return to it again. It's not like I don't think there was anything sort of waiting over to be dealt with next week. Like the parents
mm.
go, like George and Gloria, Eddie and Gloria go off, and it's like, well, we'll deal with it again whenever they happen to return. So it's yeah, I think we're done with it for now.
maybe
But
as maybe as well with Cindy and George. We've not seen enough of Ian, and I think we need to see a bit
mm,
more of Ian for there to be more of an impact of them having an affair. Because
the
obviously,
square, yeah,
yeah, yeah. So I think maybe once we've seen a bit more of Ian and Cindy, then they
yeah.
might. Although
I
to
mean,
be honest, I don't know.
how could you resist a game of charades and Monopoly with Ian? Though I don't understand. I don't know how anyone can resist that. Why would anyone have an affair?
Oh no.
If you just foot loose every single year, you know you've got a point guaranteed. You know you've won the game. I'm the sort of competitive person who would keep someone like Ian in my life just for that reason. Yeah, I've won. Yeah, I'm the winner of that
I've got a
game.
point now.
I've got
Yeah,
a
at least
point.
I've got a
Yeah,
point again this
yeah.
Christmas.
He's got a use. He's got a use. Yeah, so really, really, really interesting stuff with this. I like this a lot. It's a very, very interesting topic to discuss. And I enjoy, like you say, I enjoyed learning about it, so to speak,
Mm.
as much as you can enjoy learning about
I
something
well,
like this.
it was upsetting to learn about it
Mm,
as well. Like, I actually
I
felt
had no
really upset
idea.
for George.
I had no idea. And yeah, this is the
Yeah.
thing. Like, he basically has a bit of an identity crisis with all of this. And it's sort of like, because
Mm.
everything that he believed about himself isn't true. So now is he going to start looking for his parents? Do we think? Because when he spoke to Gloria about it, she very much implied that your mum was dead. Your
They
mum couldn't.
disappeared.
Yeah, and like sort of implied that his. I think she said. Did she say that his dad dealt with it, and she never met his mum because his mum was too upset to go to the meeting. I think that was the
Yeah, she
implication,
said
wasn't it?
she said that she met his dad once,
Yeah.
but then it was the fact that she said that the money just stopped coming in after 6
Yeah,
months, and then
something's
they
gone
never
on
heard
there.
from him again.
Yeah, something's
Mm,
mad, something weird's gone on there. So
mm,
but I am genuinely really looking forward to sort of finding out how this is all going to play out. It feels big, whatever's coming. So I feel like this is going to be quite a long runner throughout the year. But I'd say, I mean, Eddie, yes, an unpleasant character, but both parents played really, really nicely. I can see longevity in Gloria, certainly. I think they'd have to
yeah.
do a lot of sort of character work on Eddie to make him a long term character. But yeah, for sure, Gloria and Eddie perfectly played. I thought really well.
The only other thing I'm wondering is, like you just mentioned, George having an identity crisis now. He's essentially he's discovered that he's not who he thought
Mm.
he was. He thought he was from Jamaica and he's from a completely different part of the
Yeah,
world.
exactly,
That's a
exactly.
huge thing to lie to
How do
someone
you even?
about.
I don't even know how you process that. You know, when you like you reach a point in your life where you believe something about yourself and it's just fact, and
Well, I
then
was thinking
that's
like
not true.
I'm half Kashmiri. If I learned that I was actually half Iranian or something,
Yeah,
I'd be like, "What?
yeah, it'd blow your mind,
Hang
wouldn't it?
on, wait,
Yeah,
you're not the person who you thought you were." That's
yeah.
that's honestly crazy. So I think George may, I think this that alone might drive him more into Cindy's arms. If I'm honest with you, because yeah, that's quite a big thing to be dealing with. And Elaine's not going to understand or care about that. Let's be honest. She's just going to be like, let's do another pub quiz.
Thanks on the ass.
Drinks on the ass. So yeah.
Oh, I love her. I don't care what anyone says. She makes me laugh. Even for that, even if we just keep her around for the cackle, I love her. I don't care. Right, there we are then. That was this week's EastEnders. Now then, Gold Star this week, Ree. Who are you going to give your Gold Star
Oh,
to? The first Gold Star of the year. Who? Go on, let's make it a good one. Who's going to get it?
what? You go first.
I'm going to give mine to Yolande, I think.
Oh, that's a good one.
Hmm,
Okay. Oh, do you know what?
go on.
She's not done a great deal this week, but
Hmm.
she kind of has as well.
Okay.
I just love Gina. I'm giving it to Gina
Okay.
for standing up to her Gramps.
Perfect.
I'm
So
giving it to Gina.
perfect. So Yolande and Gina, the first gold stars of the year. And I did mention, ladies and gentlemen, that the gold stars were going to be relevant for something, and you're about to find out why.
So, everybody, we are
Ooh.
going to do our very own Albert Square After Dark 2023 awards show. That's right.
Woo! Very exciting.
But we can't do it just on our own, can we,
No,
Rob?
much as we'd like to.
Yeah, we would love to.
Love
So,
to.
what we're going to do, we are releasing a link where you can vote. So, we've got quite a few categories and quite a
Yes.
few nominees, and we'd
Yes.
like you all to vote. We're opening it for a week, so it's going to open as we are aired now. You can vote now. Please
The
click
vote
on
is
the link
open now. It's right now.
now.
So check if you're watching on YouTube. Check the show notes. That will be a link to the links to where you can all go to vote. And if you're listening, go and follow our social media on Albert Square After Dark on Facebook or on Twitter or on Instagram. We'll put a ticket on there as well. And you can vote for your favourites. The award show itself will be airing next Sunday, and the vote will close on Friday at midnight. So that's Friday going into the
Friday the 12th
Saturday.
of Jan.
Yeah, going
Yes, at
into
midnight.
Saturday. And the reason that we have been doing the Gold Stars is because one of the awards is the Platinum Star, and that will be awarded to the character who has received the most Gold Stars throughout the year. This is all very exciting. I can't wait for this. It's very
Yeah, it's
exciting.
very exciting. So please vote. Please
Please
vote.
vote.
Make sure your favourites have all got voted for, and we're gonna dish out our very own awards to them, aren't we, Rob?
Yes, we are indeed. Very, very, very exciting. Right, so whilst you are voting, we also have some news to discuss, which is slightly less jolly, I'm afraid. It was
Mm.
announced this week that Max Bowden will be leaving the role as Ben Mitchell at some point this year. Now, before we go into any of this, okay, let's just make it very clear right off the bat. Nobody knows anything, all right? No matter how many people you might see online claiming that they know sources or looking at the Sun and going through their account of what's going on, saying there's been some massive build up and argument, and there's loads of different sources and pieces of rubbish out there. The simple fact of the matter is we don't know what's gone on. Okay, so there's no point in speculating. But whatever's gone on, Max Bowden will be leaving the role as Ben Mitchell at some point this year. Now, what I will say straight off the bat is, as much as Ben as a character, and I'm talking purely as a character, has utterly infuriated me at times and made me want to rip my hair out. What I will say is that the show is going to massively miss Max, because I feel like he is an actor that throws himself into, and let's be honest, Ben, he has had intense story after intense story after intense story to deal with. And you've got to go to some pretty dark places to kind of portray that convincingly. And he has delivered every single time. Yes, the character of Ben might have driven us a bit mad on occasions, but he has always given 100% commitment. So he's going to be missed, I think, in that regard. Where this leaves the likes of Callum, I do not
Well,
know.
that's it. How are they going to write it out? I mean,
I
can
mean,
I
this is
say
the
as
end of
well?
Ballum. The end of Ballum. Can you
I
believe
think
it?
Max Bowden probably needs a break. Bless him.
I
He's
mean,
done a
I'd say
lot over
so.
the 5 years that he's been on the show.
Yeah. And
So for whatever reason it is that he is leaving,
yeah,
like, give him a break.
yeah.
And please
And,
don't give
and
him
he
any
is.
stick, or anyone else that's involved in it all. There's just no
Yeah, I
need.
mean, the predictable responses online, I would say, from different quarters to this, because Ben has always been a character that has provoked reaction in many different ways, I would say. But I would say that Max has always been kind of quite open on his own social media about stuff he's been
Hmm.
going through the past couple of years.
Hmm.
He's had a bit of a rough ride on occasions. So to be balancing dealing with that with the work that he's been doing on EastEnders cannot have been easy. So he probably does. He could do with a bit of a break, I would imagine, in some
Hmm.
regards as well. But where do you think this is going to go with in terms of how Ben is going to leave or what's going to happen? It's been said that he's not being killed off, and I think it would be insane to kill Ben Mitchell off. I don't think anybody
Yeah.
actually ever thought that that was going to happen. So how would Ben leave? Do we reckon?
Well, are him and Callum gonna run off into the sunset with Lexi or something? I mean, Jay as
Well,
well. Like, how's that parenting dynamic gonna work then
yeah.
if
I mean,
Ben's leaving?
I would say the parenting thing, as far as I can remember, I don't think Callum was actually sort of legally kind of was Callum legally part of it, or was it just between Ben and
Well, he
Jay?
will be because they're married.
I know that, yeah, they're
So,
married, but I don't know whether in terms of Lola's request, I don't know how much of that.
oh,
I don't. Do you know
okay.
what I mean? I don't know how much of that
Oh, I
translates into
see. So
Callum's
maybe,
involvement legally. I
maybe
mean, I
Ben.
don't know.
So you think Ben could just leave with Lexi and not take Callum in that respect or
Or Ben leaves
something?
on his own, and the
He
kind of
would
elephant
leave
in the.
Lexi.
Well, no,
Lexi's
I
got
don't
to
think he
go
would
with him.
either. I don't think he would either unless he's forced to, as in like he ends up going to prison or something like that. I mean, the elephant in the room,
Oh.
of course, is Callum. Like, is there much for Callum in the aftermath? Like, for Callum to hang around for? I don't know.
Well, no, because they've not really done much with Callum on his own. Callum is
Well,
part of
this is
Ballum, isn't
it.
he?
Yeah,
Really,
this is
let's
it.
be
I
honest.
think the thing is with Callum, he's very much become sort of Ben's partner and the other half of Ballum without actually having any sort of main storylines of his
Mm,
own. Like his role has very much been sort of a support network for Ben. And sort of any kind of drama that Ben's ever had, like Callum's there to sort of kiss him on the forehead and sort of go, "It's going to be okay, it's going to be okay," and sort of be that person. But in terms of being having his own character journey, since he got with Ben, it's almost been that's kind of been it for Callum. So I do wonder whether this is a make or break situation for Callum. He's either going to now grow into his own character, or he's just going to go with Ben. I think is the is it's either one way or the other, isn't it?
well, Johnny's returning, as we know. Is
Well, this
Callum
is the other
going
thing.
to?
This is the other thing. Is
Um,
Johnny going to be a key figure in this exit somewhere along the way? We know that Ben and Johnny have had a fling at some point, and Ben and Johnny got very close at some point because Johnny was
mm,
there throughout the whole Paul drama. But then Callum and Johnny have, obviously they will. Callum will have known Johnny at some point because he was best mates with Lee, so maybe those two met up. So maybe they've got a history together we haven't really looked into yet. Who knows? It's
possibly,
possible.
possibly.
It's possible. I don't know. It's a simple fact of the matter,
I
but I'm intrigued
think.
to know.
I think Callum's going to get a promotion,
Yeah. Do
and
you think Callum's
Ben,
gone then?
Callum. Yeah, I think he's got to
Okay.
be, if I'm honest with you. Yeah, and I think Ben, Callum, and Lexi will run off together and go and live a happy life in his new detective role somewhere.
In his new detective, and live in a nice detective house and live happily ever after.
Yes,
I don't
yes.
know. We'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. It's going to be interesting, but who knows?
I
I
just want
mean,
everyone to leave and live happily
you,
ever
you want
after,
them to,
clearly,
yeah.
don't I?
Unfortunately, this is Albert Square. This is EastEnders. So
Yeah,
very rarely do
yeah.
people get a happy ending. I don't know how they could write Ben out at this stage. I don't know what their plan will be. It feels like this is going to have to. It feels like this is going to be something that kind of forces Ben away from the situation. So it's very. I think it's very easy story wise to sort of arrest Ben for something, isn't it?
True. Yeah, that is true. That would be a very easy get out. Mm.
Mm. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. We don't know at this stage, and we don't know when it's happening either. Obviously the papers are doing their own thing with it. I mean, it's very rare. I think I haven't seen a character
I
exit
thought it was
on
March
BBC
24
News.
that his contract was up.
I don't know. Is that when it said? Where have you
I've
got
had
that
that in
from?
my head. I could be wrong.
Have you just made that up?
No, I'm sure I read that.
No, I don't know. I've not seen that.
80% sure I read that, but maybe not.
Okay. Yeah, we were 80% sure that the bird poo on the door was going to be relevant to the six
Just
storyline at one
throwing
point, Ree.
more stuff into the
Just
rumours for
saying.
you all there. It's March 24 when his contract's up.
Ree's decided. You heard it here first. Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, thoughts with Max. He's probably going to go for. Yeah, tricky stuff at the moment. But I would say to anyone that's listening, just wait and see. Okay, don't believe everything you read. Don't believe everything you hear until we have any official confirmation from anybody, or if Max Bowden decides to speak out himself about what's gone on. We will know. We will know nothing. All right. So let's leave it at that, and then move on to some viewer comments. Jordan Lewis has said Penny is fantastic so far, really great casting. But I can see her having eyes for Peter already, so she'll be interesting to see if that goes anywhere. Her character has a lot of potential though, and I'm excited to see what comes of her. Yeah, I think Penny's made quite a good impact in her first week. It's interesting, and I like the sort of research of the Brannings. Oh, something we didn't mention when we were talking about it. Who was Jack on the phone to, Ree? At one point, he's when he finds out what went
Oh,
on with
to
Lauren.
Denise.
No, that wasn't to
Oh,
Denise. At one point, when he finds
what are you
out
on
what went
about?
on with Lauren, he's on the phone and he says, "All right, bro, it's been a while." He was on the phone to Max.
Oh,
Yes,
yes. Sorry, I thought you were
yes,
on about the other phone. Yes.
yes.
Uh-huh. I think you
I'm
might be
telling
right,
you,
Rob.
I'm
Yeah,
telling
you.
you, Max is coming
Mm,
back. People, wait and see. Telling you
yeah,
now. Oh
yeah.
yes. Can't wait. The resurgence of the Brannings is a necessary thing, I think, actually. And then maybe 2024 is going to be a little bit about building the Brannings back up again. Needs to be done. Yes.
Yeah, I
Exciting.
agree actually with
Mm.
that. I've got one from our Instagram page from Tim Carney who says Yolande is the matriarch the square is needed. Her scene with Whitney was spot on.
I agree. Yeah, I love that scene between Yolande and Whitney. Yes, I think Yolande's got great matriarchal potential for sure. Angela Winter just plays it to perfection. I adore Yolande, and actually, Yolande is one of the people that I am the most happiest that has come back in
Yeah,
recent
I
years.
agree. You know what? If I had a Yolande on my street, I feel like I'd go to Yolande for
Hundred
advice.
percent, hundred
So
percent.
yeah,
Give her that
let's
role.
keep it that one.
And
Yeah.
the only thing I want from Yolande now is a feud, because all I can ever remember is that feud between her and Pat, and that was iconic. I want Yolande to have a feud with someone. She is
Well, her and
brilliant.
Elaine have built up one quite nicely, so hopefully they can have something in, yeah,
Yeah, that
to
would
keep
work.
feuding about. Mm.
Yeah, bring it on, bring it on. And finally, Richard Brasington has said Eddie is so creepy. I'm wondering from Cindy's initial reaction, the comments about two sisters from the same dad, how can they be so different? Has he assaulted Cindy in the past? And then he also says on another note, the scenes between Whitney and Yolande were just amazing. Yeah, I mean, I do think this whole thing with Eddie, there is a lot. I like it because the setup this week actually felt like, oh, we've only just started. Oh, just you
Mm.
wait, just you hold your horses. You've got much more to come, and I look forward to it. It's a great start to 2024. Did it feel a little bit weird? Kind of the six just not being mentioned or anything at all.
Yeah,
That felt maybe a little bit jarring, I think, because seeing as though there was such a massive part of Christmas and then it was literally no involvement of the six or any mention of them whatsoever. But
yeah. We had a bit of a mention. We know that Denise is staying with Libby, apparently.
yeah, they've all gone on
We saw
holiday.
that. Yeah,
Linda
Linda's
Linda's gone off to
staying with
see one of
Johnny,
the
is
kids.
she?
Yeah, I think so. And
I'm
then
assuming
like
it's
Denise is
Johnny.
yeah, Linda's gone off to see
Sharon.
Libby.
Oh no,
Sharon got
Kathy's locked herself in a bedroom.
What I presume Kathy's doing currently is sort of lying in bed, just clutching a bottle of wine. That's how I'd like to imagine Kathy's dealt with the situation. Sharon, not sure where Sharon is. She's sort of just
Mm.
yeah,
Grieving secretly,
breathing.
and no one
Yeah,
seems to be worried about her or concerned, it would
yeah.
seem.
And Suki, I imagine, is locked in the bedroom with Eve. So Suki is the only
Eh?
person who's having a great time at the moment. Suki's the happiest
Well,
she's ever
you
been.
don't know. You never know, Rob. You never know. She might not be, but
Think I think
take
I
her
do
mind off
know.
it, wouldn't it?
Think exactly. That's a great grieving process. If anyone would like to get in touch with us this year, Ree, what do they have to do?
You can find us on Facebook at Albert Square After Dark, on Instagram and Twitter at E20 After Dark. You can like and subscribe on our YouTube channel, Albert Square After Dark. You can find us on all your favourite podcast sites. Drop us an email at e20afterdarkpodcast@gmail.com. And if you'd like to buy us a coffee, you can do so by going on buymeacoffee.com/E20 After Dark.
Yeah, boy. Thank you very
And don't
much.
forget to vote. Don't forget to vote
Yes.
for our
Please,
awards
please,
show.
please vote. If you're watching on YouTube, the link is in the show notes. The vote is open now, and we will see you same time next week. We'll be doing our normal podcast episode for whatever goes on in Albert Square this week, and then the award show will be released on the Sunday. We will be recording it on the Saturday, and the vote will have closed at midnight on the Friday, going
Friday
in
the 12th.
Saturday. So the results will be hot, piping fresh. Very, very exciting. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, once again, a happy new year to you. Let's make it a good one. It's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Bye. See you later.